There are a lot of factors when it comes to skill building and learning something new. So, here are the 7 most important ingredients to learning a new skill, ordered from least important to the most important. Number 7 is the environment. Where you actually learn can play a huge role in how well you take in information and how well you can put that into practice. Because if there's distractions, if your phone is buzzing, if there's people around, you might not be completely focused on what you're doing. And that can definitely hurt, and that can definitely waste you a lot of time in learning a new skill. And in result, that can make you lose motivation in the long run. Although this is quite important, it's definitely not the most important, because you can still definitely learn a skill without the proper environment. It doesn't have to be completely optimized. And this is where some people make mistakes, because they overanalyze how important their environment is. It's definitely important, but it's not the number one most important factor. You'll definitely get by in a good environment. It doesn't have to be perfect. The 6th most important ingredient is analyzing and tracking. So this is basically just finding where your mistakes are, what the mistake actually is, and what you can do to fix it. You basically find what you're doing right, find what you're doing wrong, keep doing the things that you're doing right, but change the things you're doing wrong. And this is incredibly helpful, because this ensures that you don't make old mistakes and instead make new mistakes. And what mistakes do is you learn from them. So if you learn from your mistakes, you'll learn more. And learning is what you need to build a new skill. Now, this is, of course, really important. A feedback loop is incredibly important to learning a new skill. But humans do this subconsciously sometimes, because we're like programmed to learn. One of the things that we do, whether we realize it or not, is we constantly look for patterns. And finding what works and what doesn't work is part of the pattern recognition. So when you make a mistake, your mind automatically knows that it's something you shouldn't do. Doing other things like tracking in a journal or some digital app can also be incredibly helpful, because your mind isn't going to retain everything. And that's why this is at the number 6 most important. So moving on to number 5 is knowledge intake. And this is like a boost to your skill journey, because you can definitely learn through complete trial and error, with you making mistakes and learning from them. But you can also avoid those mistakes completely, and that's through some form of knowledge, whether it's books, whether it's videos, whether it's a course, or whether it's a mentor. You can ask questions and you can find the answers to those questions, and thereby you completely skip through mistakes that you might have made otherwise. So with that, you can pass plateaus and have a smoother progress towards your end goal. And the amazing thing about this is getting better every day, because one of the best ways to gain knowledge is through AI. So that's a resource that is constantly improving and can be utilized for anyone. Number 4 is motivation. And this might surprise some people because of how low it is. Motivation is incredibly important. But the thing about motivation is that it comes and it goes. It's not always constant. Motivation is what makes the skill bearable, even enjoyable. And it can come in the form of wanting to complete something, or even seeing progress, or not wanting to be at the bottom. And it's the driving factor that makes you take the action to do this skill. And so motivation allows you to keep going forward and enjoy the process, which is what it's all about in the end of the day. So now moving on to the top 3. Number 3 is focus. Without focus, you're not actually able to understand, or at least understand in a quality way, in a rich way. Because when you have focus, you're actually putting your full attention on what you're doing, on what you're building, on what you're learning. And you catch everything, whether it's a small mistake you made or whether it's a small success. So it's, in a way, the driving factor. And the more focus you have, the more efficient you are with your time. The more you get done when you have more focus. And it's the best chance that you actually see meaningful progress. So in that way, focus is number 3. Number 2 is discipline. In any important and intensive journey, including that of learning a new skill, there will be a time where you will lose motivation. And that's where discipline has to come in, because discipline is doing the thing that you don't want to do, but that's good for you, or that you know you have to do. It's basically the glue that keeps you from falling and failing. At some point, the journey will get unpleasant, and discipline will push you through that. And then hopefully, if you see more progress, then motivation comes back. And then when motivation lowers again, discipline is there to keep you going. So this is why discipline is the second greatest factor in learning and sticking to your new skill. And number 1, the single most important factor in learning a new skill, unsurprisingly, is setting a good goal and having a purpose. Goal setting allows you to know your path, to know your purpose. And to take a step further, you can build systems on how to actually get to your goal. And that is the best way to ensure that you actually learn the skill. So without a goal or a purpose or a system, you're just aimlessly wandering. You're doing things, but you're not understanding why you're doing it. And other factors like motivation and discipline don't even emerge. So setting a good goal is the keystone to finishing that new skill and going through that learning journey. And the more specific the goal is, the greater the chance of success. And a specific goal and a specific framework and system will ensure you that you're progressing and going through every step of the journey. And that is the single greatest way to ensure that you learn a new skill. It also keeps your skill concrete once you learn. You're more likely to remember it far into the future. Let me know if you agree with this list, if you have other factors that might be more important, or if you'd like to reorder these factors. But that's my list, and I hope you found it helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.